Good day, everyone. I am Jensen Ramos Abajo, your presenter for today. And for today's lesson, we are going to talk about the issues and challenges in contemporary literature. So, without further ado, let's get started. And before we proceed to our main topic, let us define contemporary literature. Contemporary literature is defined as literature written after World War II through the current day. While this is a vague definition, there is not a clear-cut explanation of this concept, only interpretation by scholars and academics. While there are some disagreement, most agree that contemporary literature is writing completed after 1940. Some of works of contemporary literature reflects a society's social and political viewpoints, shown through realistic characters, connections to current events, and socio-economic messages. The writers are looking for trends that illuminate societal strengths and weaknesses, to remind society of lessons they should learn and questions they should ask. So when we think of contemporary literature, we cannot simply look at a few themes or settings. Since society changes over time, so do the content and messages of this writing. When we talk about contemporary literature and the start date of this label, we have to acknowledge World War II and the surrounding events. The horrors of the war, including bombs, ground wars, genocide, and corruption, are the pathways of this type of literature. It is from these real-life themes that we find the beginning of a new period of writing. Typical characteristics of contemporary period include reality-based stories with strong characters and believable story. Settings usually keep on the current or modern era, so futuristic and science fiction novels are rarely included in this category. Thinking of the current state and future of our literature in terms of what problems it is facing seems wrong. Challenges and opportunities are closer, but perhaps challenging opportunities would be the best way to think of it. But even these are limited. Most of Sterling's items are, we think, irrelevant. That is, literature will transcend these challenges fluidly and without our even noticing, or will be unaffected by them in any major way. Sterling's items in issues and challenges in contemporary literature consist of 3 parts. First part is mine, and the 2 remaining parts will be taken care of Mr. Mundong and Mr. Antonio. Now let's take a look at the first part. Item number 1. Literature is language-based and national. Contemporary society is globalizing and polyglot. Literature requires an intense and focused mastery of one specific language, whereas globalization seems to contort works into their simplest form, such as movies, comics, and commercials. However, there are many notable examples of writers who are more successful writing in an acquired language rather than their native tongue, such as Beckett and Nabokov. Additionally, Joyce is proof that learning as many languages as possible will increase the linguistic weapons at your disposal if you like tricks and flourishes. These exemptions, however, prove the rule that lifetime learning the hidden channels of power within a single language is no longer a sexy road to becoming one of the global elite. Item number 2. Vernacular means of everyday communication. Cell phones, social networks, streaming video are moving into areas where printed text cannot follow. Well, this is temporary. The printed word is still the most efficient means of communication between two people and will be until we develop ESP. Reading is much faster than listening, and words are nothing but crystallized images. Just look at Chinese characters. These vernacular means of everyday communication are simply trial balloons. Printed text will be the last to arrive in these vernacular quadrants because when it finally shows up rather, it will be the big, bold, immovable beast that redefines everything. These vernacular forms of discourse have simply been guinea pigs. Test to see if these new technologies can handle the load of literature, the highest human art. Item number 3. Intellectual property systems failing. Why do you think intellectual property systems are failing? Writers may no longer be able to protect their work from piracy. But that doesn't mean that there aren't ways to add value to writing once again by adopting publishing methods that actively resist duplication. Intellectual property is a damaging force which becoming widespread in the media and among policymakers. If it is not countered creatively and urgently, society as a whole, not just right holders, will pay a heavy price. Intellectual property is a barrier to innovation, and those that seek to protect it and uphold licenses are trolls who are hampering progress in the sharing economy. I believe that this viewpoint is dangerous, wrong and short-sighted, and that it needs to be called out. Why? Because it fails to recognize that intellectual property is the best proxy for promoting and sharing innovation, not a barrier that prevents access to it. It also fails to recognize that intellectual property is a core part of a victorious circle that links innovators, technology users, and capital providers. Item number 4. Means of book promotion, distribution, retail, destabilize. Destabilizing means to be incapable of functioning or surviving. Literature will and is already transcending them via online publications like Wired.com or any social media platforms wherein we can transcend books and other works that we have, and devices like the Kindle. If the promotion and distribution of books before contemporary period are usually done in physical and contemporary, we can easily outshine them in social media platforms in a snap. Item number 5. Ink on paper manufacturing is an outmoded, toxic industry with steeply rising costs. There are better uses for wood than books. When books don't sell, the publishers burn them. The process is called remaindering. More books get burned by publishers every year than by any fascist superstate. Adopting widespread print-on-demand technologies in bookstores will ensure that every book printed is a book someone wants. The idea of remaindering disgusts many of the people and breaks their hearts, like how starving people must have felt watching farmers burn oranges during the Great Depression. Item number 6. Core demographic for printed media is aging faster than the general population. Failure of print and newspaper is disenfranchising young apprentice writers. I think there's no need to argue here. Fiction writers have no place to train these days, and very few ways to make money while writing the experimental novels and short stories that help them find their voices. However, this may be a natural correction. The grim writing economy makers writers have to take jobs in the service and manufacturing sectors, which gives them direct access to the people for whom they should be writing in the first place. And by learning how to write for people who think literature is not for them, writers may spark a forgotten underclass with a newfound love of stories and writing. So that ends my report. I hope that at this point of time, you're able to realize something about the issues and challenges that contemporary literature is facing today. And at the same time, to reflect of all those issues. Alright, so for the continuation of this report, please subscribe to my channel. Ay, video report pala ito. Ay, akala ko makeup tutorial. Alright, bye! Thank you for listening. Have a good day.